So Dr. Christie, let's talk a little bit about those school days, because I think they were very important in shaping your life. You were very involved in school, not only as a guide, but in other ways. And tell us a little bit about that journey. And I know, of course, you were a boarder. And I'm sure lots of our current old girls would love to hear about those days.
You know, as I said, I don't remember very much. We had to do, and of course we sometimes didn't. Yeah. But we had, well, I'll tell you, when I came back to teach for about a year, I lived in next door to a dormitory.
Right.
And I think relatively recently somebody told me about the midnight feast that they used to have and how somebody stepped into the one of the dishes or something like that, and so on and so on. I said to them, you don't seem to know that I knew when you were having midnight feast. I used to be a boarder too. I don't remember who it was, so I said, because it's so long, it's not someone like that. So I don't remember who. Yeah.
So apart from the midnight feasts that the boarders used to have, there was a kind of regime which we as old girls used to observe. Tell us a bit about that. They had to, after school was finished in the day, what was the routine that you had to follow?
We had rest.
You had to rest for what, an hour?
I think it might have been slightly less than an hour.
Right.
Then we had prep.
Right.
3 to 4, that I remember.
Prep was homework time, and this was when you all came back to the classrooms and...
There were just about 2 classrooms.
Right.
In my time anyway, and the teacher sitting in the middle.
Yeah.
And
So it was supervised by a teacher?
Oh yes.
Yeah.
And then we had, some of us took milk at 4 o'clock, and I don't remember what it was or something.
Right, a sort of break, like the refreshment. Yeah.
And then what happened? Then we were free from 4 to about 6, I think.
Yeah.
And we had supper.
Supper at 6.
And then we had prep again.
And then
Until
prep
8 o'clock.
again? Until when?
8 o'clock.
Until 8
I
o'clock?
think it was 8 o'clock.
No wonder the boarders were always so bright and had all their homework done, because I mean, that was a very good
It must have
regime.
been 7 to 8, I can't remember.
Yeah.
Supper was at 6 o'clock.
Wonderful, yeah. So that was Monday to Friday, but I gather on Saturday you all had a grand time in the common room. In the common room. Tell us about that. Was it the common room it was called?
Well, when I first came, the SAR, by times, what do you call it? Recreation room.
Recreation room, right.
Which was just down here.
Yes, in the lab, where the labs are now.
Right,
Yes.
that's right. That was built after I came to school.
Really?
Oh, the whole of that was built after I came to Sudan. It was because it was built in about 44, 45.
Okay.
And yes, we danced with each other. And just the other day I was thinking, if that happened nowadays, people would have a whole lot of things to say, which of course we didn't even know anything like that in those days.
That's right. So you all had a grand time?
Yes.
Yeah.
And then once we had a month's break, so we couldn't dance, so we had concerts.
Concerts?
Not singing concerts, but
Oh.
I think we had some songs and things like that, and we had in those days, Louis Bennett was just coming in, and we thought it was naturally like that, but you know, we complained. We had little sketches in dialect, and it was an hour.
That's interesting.
Miss Watson, you may remember Miss Watson was quite pleased sometimes.
That's Jean Watson.
Yes,
yeah.
And what else did we have on the borders?
But I believe in your time it was just after the war or during the war. So,
Some started when the war was over.
so there were problems with food and...
Oh yes, but Miss Nashaw or
Matron?
Yes. She was excellent. We didn't know things that then, but afterwards I realized. She came from Spalding's.
Yeah.
And they grew Irish potatoes. We had potatoes. And I remember Sunday we had roast beef and Yorkshire pudding. And when I lived in Yorkshire for 6 years, I don't think the Yorkshire pudding I had as nice as the one we used to have at the borders. We complained in those days. But things were rationed. No, there's hardly yet, I think. But revolutions and things like that. I don't think we had You remember Sam?
Yes,
Sam
the gardener, yeah.
But when I came back in 70s or 70s, Sam had retired, and he came to see me one day. I was said, Miss Nash could feel borders, you know. I can't remember anything else.
So those days had good memories. Now, so now we look at some of the students that you taught. You had some very interesting, I know you taught me Latin and a little French, I think. But many of your students went on to do well in languages too, I'm sure.
Yes, can't remember anything. I don't have bank. Well, Nora Mitchell, you might remember. She got a scholarship, but she married somebody in Oxford. I think I heard from her some years ago, in fact.
Yeah, she's still around in London, in England.
Somebody died, I think, and she wrote to me something. I can't remember what it was about.
But she did languages?
Okay. I stayed there. Was the teach. Slates. Peggy Slate, you remember? Father was a teacher at Manchester Secondary Education. Mr. Slakes. There were two Slakes. There was Peggy and there was Pam. Pam was younger than I was, but she came to Edinburgh before I left. And Peggy I taught in the sixth form. Charita, you know Charita?
Charita Ben.
Charita Ben,
Yes.
she was in sixth form.
Yeah.
This is Yvonne Nicholson, who's now Victor Wright.
Yeah.
But Pauline, you know, and Claudette.
Right.
But I thought all three of those. Horses there.
So I think a lot of people have fond memories of you as a young teacher who came out, and an old girl,
Some of them.
that they could relate to.
Some of them say.
Because we all...
You know, Wilma Douglas.
Wilma Douglas,
She told me
yes.
that the other day.
Yes.
I hadn't seen her for years.
Yes. We were all pleased to see a younger teacher.
I remember that.
Yes, yes, and you could feel the relationship.
Sure,
Yes,
sure.
yes.
The Boroughs.
Yes, the Boroughs. Yeah,
Florence, I think.
right. They went off to France or something.
No.
No.
I don't know if I know if I went to France. I can't remember. She did friend. But when we had the celebrations 2 years ago, I saw her.
Yes. So after that, you then decided, after teaching at St. Andrew for a few years, you got
Not a few years ago, I was here for 11 years.
Well, that's plenty. Yes, so 11
So
years.
another change in that.
Yes, that's true, yes. By then we had the new hall, I would have thought.
When I came back in 55, I think, the hall had been built.
Yes.
While I was at Rhoda, that was one of the things we were always having fairs and things to build that hall. So every time I look at it, I think people don't remember.
All the fundraising that had to happen, yes. And it's still going on in St. Andrew even today, fundraising. We're always fundraising.
The hall was built while I was away.
Yeah. So you went on to, you decided to do further study, to go and do your doctorate.
Well, yes, I can tell you about, I went to France in 62 for a year. What happened? Something happened. The lady who was at the Alliance arranged for me to go and be an assistant in the school. But while I was there, I said, but by that time, England was the wartime, and that people had cars and things. So I wanted to go back to England, but my mother got ill and I had to come back, and she died. And I said, I still want to leave.
Right.
And I got a government scholarship in 66, so I went back.
Yes. And you did, that's when you got introduced to linguistics.
Yes. Well, I actually went to do something on the teaching of French.
Okay.
Because at that time, language labs were just coming in. It was when I was in France, in fact. And they had new universities and new things. So I read that York had a
Language lab?
a language lab. And so I went there really, mainly to do
Teaching?
something to do with the teaching of French.
Right.
But I put down my third choice on the application for York. But I think the people at the Commonwealth office were so happy to know that somebody had heard that there was a university in York that they took down. And the registrar wrote to me on phone, I think, I don't remember which, and told me that Professor LePage was in Jamaica at a conference and I should make an appointment to see him. that would have been early '66. And so I went up to the university, and so it was like a house on fire. And the kind of language studies that I had done, the history of French and that kind of thing, was not his cup of tea at all. And he said he was going to brainwash me. Yes, he said he went to the conference, but we didn't meet at the conference. He was here at the conference.
Right.
And so I went to him. And of course,
that changed your life. Changed your career path in a sense.
Yes. Not so much for the first year because I was with him. He was determined to brainwash me. And one day I was to specialize in the teaching of French, and one day I went into his office and I said, I said, no, I want to go to and as I was leaving the office that day, I heard him say to himself, I think I've won a victory. And all the rest of the department thought he had brainwashed, he had coerced me into it, but it wasn't so.
So was there a department of linguistics at University of Westerners at that time, or did you help to set that up?
Sort of, yes. Not really. When I came back, I was just lecturing in English, when you know, attached to the faculty. But we had, what they call it, because St. Augustine and Cambridge had just started up. And we had something called some committee of, it was something like that, with the three campuses. And gradually, we got together and just did some courses and so on. And eventually, in '75, we got together. We had a department.
Well, when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit more about Jamaica Creole and your involvement in that, and what your thoughts on some of, possibly teaching, how should be read. Well, let's deal with that. We'd love to hear your thoughts on that. Thank you.